welcome to today's tutorial where I will be demonstrating a sight reading exercise. What is sight reading and what is its value? So sight reading is playing a piece of music for the very first time that you've never seen before, that you've never practiced, and it is testing or rather relying on your music literacy. So what does that mean? Music literacy is the ability to read pitches, which we refer to as the letter names of notes, and rhythm, which is the relative length of notes and rests. And why is it important? Well, being able to sight read well means that you're able to process information, musical information, quickly and efficiently. And when you can do that, when you can process the elements of the pitches, the articulations as well, which is how you play the notes, and the rhythm, then you're able to learn music more quickly. So being able to sight read better means you can learn your pieces better. It's like when you're reading text. If you read text every day, and you remember this as a kid growing up, where you would take out books from the school library or your local library and you would get through them. And gradually, over the years, you would read, well, even through a matter of weeks, you would take out harder and harder books until now you can read those thick chapter books. And yeah, so reading music is a similar thing where you read new music every day, and over time, your music literacy improves. So, the exercise I'm doing is from level 2 RCM in the 4 Star Sightreading series, and we'll start with star number 1 on the top left. First thing, let's identify the key signature. The key signature tells us which sharps or flats are going to be in the piece. And in this exercise, the key signature is, well, there's no key signature, so that means that we're in the key of C major. So C major has no sharps or flats. The time signature is 2-4. And what the time signature tells us, it tells us two pieces of information. The top number tells us how many beats are in a measure. So it's going to tell us to what number we're going to be counting, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 6, and so on. And the bottom number tells us what kind of note each beat is. So if it's 2-4, the 4 on the bottom means that we're going to have 2 quarter notes in a measure. If the time signature is 4-4, we're going to have 4 quarter notes in a measure. So that 4 on the bottom tells us that there's going to be the kind of note that each beat is a quarter note. Okay? So, carefully study the key signature and fingering of each pattern, then play. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the first note. The first note is C, and I'm going to play it with finger 1. So as a good habit, I tell my students, you want to find the note on the piano and then place the right finger on it. Many times I see students, they put their hands on the piano and they shuffle around, they're trying to find their note. It's best to just read the letter to figure out which finger you're going to play it, and you find it on the piano. Okay, so follow that process. Playing music and practicing involves a lot of processes, or rather, if you want to learn effectively, then it's important to have a process that you follow, so you're not just randomly going about trying to do the exercise. Okay, so 1 on C. And now I'm going to read the intervals between the notes. So what is an interval? An interval is the distance between notes. And I won't cover that in specific detail right now. I'll do that in another video. But for now, just follow along. I'm going to take a book to cover my hands. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to work on my proprioception. So proprioception, what does that mean? Proprioception is the ability to sense your body in physical space. So some people call it, or rather elements of proprioception are hand-eye coordination, muscle memory, what we remember with our bodies. So covering the hands allows you to develop your proprioception because our eyes should be fixated on the music, not at our hands, so that when we're sight reading a piece of music, we have the skill of being able to know where our fingers are and where our hands are and keep our focus on the page. Okay? So, I like to hold it like a pizza instead of holding it like this, so you can save the strain on your thumb. Okay? So, placing the right hand, finger 1 on C, I'm going to cover my hand, and I'm going to name the intervals between the notes. Okay? Step up, step up, step up. This is a step down to finger 1. So I'm going to shrink my thumb so that I can shrink my thumb to a step down on E. You see that? So step down with finger 1, skip up, 4th up. Okay? Now, I would tell my students to practice that until you can do it with a confidence level of 90% or higher. So let's do that again. 1 on C, step up, step up, step up, step down with finger 1. I would actually say that out loud. So say the step or the interval and then the finger that plays it. Skip up, 4th up. Great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the counting underneath the notes and I'm going to play it while counting out loud. Okay, I'm not going to write on the screen because I don't have my app, but you can write the counting yourself. So first I'm going to count and clap using both hands. I'm going to be clapping the rhythm with the right hand and I'm going to be clapping the beats with the left hand. And before I start, I'm going to give myself a count in measure. So I'm going to count 1 measure and tap the beats with my left hand, and then I'm going to start clapping the rhythm with my right hand while I continue clapping the left hand beats. So it goes like this. I'll tap it on the piano. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now that I've done that, I'm going to play it once more while counting out loud. Okay, I'm going to cover my hand again. It's good practice. Count and measure. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Okay. Very good. And that's the top left exercise. So let's do the top right one. So again, I'm going to read the key signature. Key signature is F sharp. And while it's not that important to know what scale or what key has that key signature, it's helpful anyway to think about it. So I won't explain the reason why this is G major, but the key signature implies that it's the key of G major or E minor because those are the scales that have 1 sharp. So the time signature is 2/4, so we're going to expect 2 quarter notes in each measure, and you can see that very clearly in this exercise that each measure has 2 quarter notes. All right, I'm going to place my hand 1 on G. I'm going to find it on the piano. I'm going to place my hand on the piano, and I'm going to name the intervals. So let's go back to covering my hand. Here we go. Skip up, step down, skip up, step down, sixth up, fourth down. Okay. You may notice that I'm reading the interval and then taking some time before I play the note. I observe many of my students name the interval and play the note at the same time, which can lead to reading the interval incorrectly and you haven't processed the information and registered it in your hand. So what I recommend is to name the interval and make sure that you feel the correct interval in your hand before you play the note. So instead of going like this, skip up, and saying the interval at the same time as you play the note, I would say skip up, think about the skip, and then only play the next note when you've correctly felt it in your hand, or that you're sure of the interval in your hand. Okay? And so it pays to be careful when you're sight reading. Just like when you're reading words, you sound out the word before you say the word. You don't just blurt out what you think the word is. You think about it. Okay? So that's what I'll do in this video, and I'll cover star 2 and 3 in another video. Okay? Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next one.